The game backlog. Every gamer knows it. Every gamer has one. What's up, guys? This is D, the Grim Gamer. Welcome back to the channel for another video. I wanted to put this one together and talk a little bit about the game backlog because, well, my game backlog has gotten completely out of control. There's so many games these days that I'd like to put some time into and play, and over the last 2 years or so, I've just been collecting games and collecting anything and everything that looks interesting to me, that looks like it's something that I could get into and would enjoy the experience. Growing up, mostly what I played was wrestling games. I mean, I played about all of the ones that I can possibly think of. And it was like that through the PS1, the PS2, the PS3, the Nintendo 64. I mean, it's just wrestling games everywhere. Now, that's not the only thing I ever played, but I played a lot of wrestling games. And so, and that's just because I was a huge wrestling fan back then. So there's a lot of games that got left to the wayside that I never tried or never even thought about giving a chance. And there's other ones that I'd see them and go, yeah, I want nothing to do with that. But now, all these years later, there's a lot more of those that actually do look pretty interesting. And I've mentioned it time and time again. I've been wanting to broaden my horizons and try a bunch of different games for various different consoles. And now, here as it stands, I've got, I think, 14 different consoles that I'm currently collecting for, and that may be one of the biggest problems. I'll touch base back on that in a second, if I remember to do so. But I'm collecting all of these different games for all of these various consoles because there's so many of them that I want to dive into and play. The problem now is I now have too many, and I don't know where to start. So I guess I'm doing this video because I'm looking for any kind of advice or suggestions that you might all have out there of how I can combat this problem. Because again, I know that there's got to be many of you out there that feel the same way I do. So many games, so little time. And that's the biggest problem. That's problem number one, is the time. So I've mentioned this time and time again also. I tend to do most of my gaming, if not all of my gaming, mostly on stream because, well, to me that's content. And I also like to do a lot of these, especially the ones that are for the first time, on stream to be able to record my reaction to it. You know, that first time seeing it with a fresh pair of eyes and you know, initial thoughts and reactions to it, and be able to share that experience with other people. On top of that, with the way that my schedule is, with work and just everything else, life, the streams that, the blocks of time that I've carved out for myself to do the streams is about the only times I actually have to do any gaming practically whatsoever. And I've been able to start doing that 3 nights a week now. That's Tuesday, Wednesdays, and Thursday nights, 11:30 p.m. start time. If you're interested in checking that out and watching that, links will be on the description. But I play all types of stuff over there, and I'm trying to get to some of these these different games and everything, but that's about the only time that I have to play. I get to do about 3 to 3.5 hours ish each of those nights, but I mean, we do the math, so for, you know, real quick simple math, we're talking 3 nights a week at 3 hours. 9 hours a week is essentially what I'm getting in game time wise, and that's not a lot. That's not a lot. I might be able to, you know, for some of the smaller games, be able to get through maybe one a week now, but some of them, you know, some games, you know, they take a while. You know, ones that would take, you know, by the time I break it down, you know, 8, 10, 12 stream nights or something like that. We're talking it's going to take me a couple weeks, you know, to get through one game. And so when that's the case, And then the more games that I find and add to my collection, the more they just pile up, and it's to a point where I'm getting buried in this backlog. So, again, I want to do all these games on stream. Plus, it's about the only time I have for gaming. Anyway, that's problem number one. Problem number two is, I guess, just simply the amount. The amount of games. There are so many, and so many that I want to do for the streams. It's gotten to be a lot. As it stands right now, I want to do full-length playthroughs of several, I should say several, a big handful of different games. I also want to, there's a couple different series that I want to do, multiple games in these series. On top of just doing one-offs, just one stream, whether I finish it or not, of games that I just want to try, that just seem interesting, that I don't know if I want to dedicate entire playthroughs of yet until I try them first, So when I sit there and I look at it and I start breaking things down, I look at, like, okay, well, here's these handful of games and then here's these series. So how do I finagle this? Okay, like, for instance, here's a couple series that I'd like to do, here pretty quick, and pretty quick's not going to happen, but, I plan on doing a whole slew of the Metal Gear games. Not the entire thing. There's some that are going to be ignored that I don't feel like are really part of that, but when it comes to the Metal Gear series, the ones that I want to do, well, that's 10 games right there. Then we factor in, like, Bayonetta, the trilogy, well, there's another 3 games. The Jak and Daxters, well, there's another 6. I mean, we're looking at, what, 19 games right there alone in just those 3 series? I mean, and that's literally just the tip of the iceberg. And that's not counting newer releases that are coming out. So that's maybe problem number 3. There's all of these games for all of these various consoles, just retro games alone, that I am now looking into for the first time, purchasing, adding to the collection, and then wanting to play, especially stuff for like Nintendo's, which I didn't have a lot of growing up. I just recently got an Xbox. There's original Xbox titles that I'd like to give a try since I've never owned an Xbox before, plus so many different ones on the PlayStation, various PlayStation consoles, for all 4 of the, well, 3 of the retro ones and 2 of the modern ones. It's like, and then by the time you start piling all these games together, where do you start? Where do you start? How do you even start going through all of this when you have very limited time and so many things that have caught your attention and that have your interest? So, yeah, I'm literally getting buried. And when I start breaking, I also there's different things. I know I'm all over the place, but this is the problem that I'm having with trying to do this. With all of the different games that I want to do full-length playthroughs of, on my list currently, there's 60 titles there. The one-offs that I would just like to try, just to see if I want to even dedicate the time to do full playthroughs of them, there's another 70 there. So we're talking 130 games currently, as it stands, as I record this, that I want to be able to do. I want to be able to do on stream. Maybe that's the problem. But wanting to do all of them on stream. But again, the problem is that's about the only time I have the game. I had to do it this way to dedicate certain time blocks in my week to just sit down and play some games. For right now, instance, this is a Saturday as I record this. I could be sitting down and playing a game right now. But I want to do stuff like this also. So instead, I'm taking the time to, record a video instead of, playing a game. So there goes more time gone that I'm not dedicating to any kind of games whatsoever. So, again, so many games, so little time, and I don't know how to tackle this. So, now going back to a point that I was trying to make, I've tried coming up with different ways of trying to tackle this problem. So I try to break things up with doing the full-length playthrough and then a one-off, a full-length playthrough and a one-off, and you know, and if, for instance, I do have an extra day here or there, or I want to start a full-length playthrough on a certain day for whatever reason, then I'll throw in a couple extra one-offs, try to knock a few more of those off the list. But I tried to break it up so that I don't do a very lengthy playthrough and then yet another one right afterwards. Try to break it up with a couple one-offs or something in between, or I'll try to do a lengthier full-length playthrough, then a one-off, and then maybe a shorter full-length playthrough, and then a one-off, and then jump into something else that's a little bit longer. And I also started trying to use howlongtobeat.com as a way to try to gauge that. So I'll go on there and go, okay, and just use that as a baseline. Not like, oh, it's only going to take me that long, you know, to get through these games. It all depends on how you play, obviously, especially more open world type stuff, or just if you struggle. You know, I struggle with some games, certain types of games and stuff, so it would take me longer to get through certain games than other people would. But just use that as a baseline and go, okay, if it's going to take me this amount of hours, I have this many hours per stream, 3 streams per week, it should take me roughly this many streams, therefore this many weeks to get through one, and you know, try to gauge it that way. Well, and then in doing so, with the current plan that I have, which I've planned out quite a few games, you know, down the list of how I've set them and how I want to tackle these, which I don't know if is a good way to do it, but with a bunch of these Metal Gears, there are several newer releases that are coming out this month, and as I record this, well, by the time this comes out, it still should be at the end of October, but so this month there are several newer titles that are coming out that I'm interested in, and typically I'm not that excited for newer releases, at least not as many that are coming out right now as I am. That's kind of a rarity. But all these newer titles that I'd like to jump into, plus the series and everything else. So I go to How Long to Beat. Okay, some of the newer ones, obviously, they don't have times on there yet. But a lot of the older ones, okay, How Long to Beat, how long should this go? Okay, this one will take me this long, theoretically. This one will take me this long, this one long. And by the time I put several games together, plus some one-offs in there, it looks like I have, like, the next year already planned out of what it is that I'm trying to play, and that's only a fraction of the amount of games that are on this list. So then I look at that and I start getting discouraged in a way. I'm looking at some of these other games on the list and I go, I would really like to get to this, but I really want to get to these right now. So this one is just going to have to wait, what, another year and a half? Well, that's depressing. So I guess, like, if I can't get to these games anyways, I guess part of the solution may be to, well, stop buying games. But who wants to do that? Not me. You know, I want to continue to grow my collection, because not only do I want to play games, but I'm enjoying the collecting aspect of it, right? And so I don't want to stop collecting the games, but how do I get to them, right? So I guess with all of this rambling comes down to is that is my situation, and I need some advice. If y'all have any advice out there, how do I tackle this? One other quick thing that I do try to do is I also try to break up what I'm playing by console. I try not to. And again, right now with so many newer releases coming out specifically for the PS5 is what I'm looking into, a bunch coming out for that. But I try to do something newer, then something retro, then something maybe a little newer, maybe something retro, maybe something right in between that kind of falls on that fine line. You know, I really try to mix it up, and I try to mix it up between consoles too, and even the different manufacturers. So if I do something for Sony, like the PS3. Then next I'll try to go, okay, well, let me try to do something on the Nintendo 64. Well, then let me jump to the PS5 and do something. Okay, well, then I just did something for that. Let me jump into something for the NES. Okay, now that the NES, I got something there. Let me do something maybe for the Switch. And now that I did something for the Switch, maybe we'll do something with the Sega Genesis. And I really try to jump back and forth and you know, try to touch base on all the different consoles and all the different genres too. Like, okay, I did a beat 'em up here. Now let's do something racing. Now let's do a shooter. Now let's do something that's a little more action adventure. Now let's do something stealth. Now let's do a platformer. So I try to vary it up as much as I possibly can. And once again, I don't know if that's a way to do it either. You know, maybe it really should be just, you know, these are the ones that pique my interest the most. Just put them at the top regardless of what they are and what platform they're for. I don't know. I'm not sure if how I'm doing this right now is the best approach. Essentially, I need more time. So maybe stop buying so many. Maybe that's part of the solution. And anything short of creating a time machine that either A, stops time, or B, creates more of it, which is obviously never going to happen. The time is the biggest issue, obviously. Everybody knows this. Time is always the issue. So, yeah, I think that's about all I've really got to say, and this is already dragging on for a while. But yeah, that's my situation. That's how I'm currently tackling things. But I don't know if that's the way to go, and I'm just interested to see what y'all have to say about this matter, and if you have any kind of information or advice for me on how to try to tackle a backlog that is 130 games deep and continuously growing at this point with the limited time that I have. So I'm interested to see what you guys have to say. So I guess without dragging things out further and just rambling, I guess at this point, I guess that's going to be it for me for this one. Couple games in the backlog. I'll just throw a few out there because in the comments I'd like you guys to let me know some of your games in your backlog that you're trying to desperately get to, because we all know how it goes. You know, you pick up a game and you know, I'll get to that shortly. Well, then shortly turns into eventually, eventually turns into at some point turns into who knows when may potentially turn into never. So it's just kind of how it works. But currently I'm working on some of the newer stuff, as I had mentioned. I've got Kenna, Bridge of Spirits, that I'd like to get to. I got Sonic X Shadow Generations I'd like to get to. Some older ones I'd like to get to. The original Fable on the Xbox. I'd like to do several of the Metal Gears, like I had mentioned. I got the Bayonettas. I'm trying to get a bunch of the God of Wars because I've never played any of them. I'd like to get to like Perfect Dark on the N64. So that's just a few. That's just a very small few of ones that I'd like to touch on. So let me know down in the comments what your backlog's looking like. And yeah, just any advice you may have for me to tackling this ever-growing issue. So thanks for stopping by, checking this video out. If you liked it, hit the like button. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already, so you don't miss out on any other content coming to the channel, whether it's discussion videos like this, whether it's the live stream replays, where it's the retro game unboxings or retro game huntings that further compounds the current problem that I have, or just anything else that it is that I decide to do. So with that, I'm out of here. I am the Grim Gamer. My friends call me D. And until next time, I will catch you guys later.